You're watching TVC Breakfast. After a long-drawn battle between organized labor and the federal government over a new minimum wage, government finally caved in and in May signed into law the 30,000 naira minimum wage for workers who were previously placed on an 18,000 naira minimum wage. That was in April, rather.
Now, on Tuesday, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the immediate implementation of the new wage for federal workers earning below 30,000 naira, and payment is going to be backdated to the day of the signing.
But federal workers earning above the approved wage will not benefit yet because negotiations are to continue between government and the Joint National Public Service Negotiating Council. So we have joining me in the studio now Solomon Adeboshi. He is the Executive Secretary, Human Capital Providers Association of Nigeria. Solomon, it's good to have you join me right now.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
How controversial is this issue where there is an approval by the president? If you look at the report of people from grade level 1 to 7
yes,
can start receiving their 30,000 naira.
Yes.
But those from level 8 and upwards, negotiation is still ongoing.
Well, I think it has to do with the ability to pay.
Okay.
Because when you talk about the minimum wage is not a general wage increase. It's supposed to just provide for the minimum that we pay to any worker in the country. And as specified in the Act that it should be for employment where there are 25 or more. That's when the minimum wage can apply. So when you talk about 30,000 naira for those in the level 1 to 7. Of course, that applies to, basically to those in the public sector. Those in the private sector, most of them don't have that kind of issue. So for those in the public sector, they are those that will be considered to be at the lowest rung of the ladder. And since the president has signed this act into law, then they want to know when are we going to start enjoying this. This other negotiation that is going on is delaying the implementation. So I think that's what informed the president.
Yeah, but the point there is when. How much of concern would this be? Because negotiation for the entire minimum wage issue is ongoing. Yeah. The reason why there's going to be a consequential increase or differential, as the case may be, is because some people have moved from 18,000 to 30,000.
Exactly.
And if the other issue is not resolved, how do we start payment?
Well,
how will this issue be? I don't know.
The thing is that when it comes to issues like this, you still want to see how to be able to go round about it. I think it's something that ought to have been maybe cleared at the onset where this negotiation was even going on when talking about this 30,000 naira, because the issue of the minimum wage, like we say, is not supposed to be something for a collective bargaining. It's a law. Every 5 years, these things should be reviewed. So,
and it was long overdue before this.
Yeah, what should have been, those involved should have to put in place is what mechanism can we put in place to ensure that this automatic review. Talking about inflation, talking about cost of living, wage, and all those things. You want to be sure, how do we calculate this, what should be the next minimum wage? And by the time you have that mechanism put in place, this back and forth will be,
Are you looking forward to a showdown between the organized labor and the federal government?
Honestly, I wouldn't want that to happen because the economy is not even doing well.
But is it likely it's going to happen?
Labour will say, yes, we want to do this, and then the government will want to say, look, let us come back and discuss. The negotiation was deadlocked based on the fact that the government side came up with a different calculation. And
the percentages
so Labour just felt, look, you are taking us for granted and all this. And that's why I said that I'd expected that while this negotiation was going on, taking that long, all this will have been put in place so that once it is signed, there will be no issue. Everything just goes seamlessly. We know that, okay, based on this new minimum wage, there's been a 6.6% increase. Does it now mean that somebody who is earning, let's say, 700,000, whatever, should now also have a 66.6% increase on his pay? So all these things have to be put together. And by the time you do that calculation and say, okay, if you're going to make that a general wage increase in that percentage, of that same percentage, how much is it going to be for the person who is earning the highest now? And
No,
then
they had recommended 30% for those between 15 and 7, and
yes,
then 25%
for those.
Exactly. But government is saying no, 9.5% for those up,
Exactly.
and 5% for those in the middle.
That's what I'm saying. That it ought to have been part of what should have been discussed.
Okay, let's wait to see how this thing is going to play out.
Yes,
It's quite, it's debatable right now depending on where you stand.
Now, some would say that why come up with this kind of arrangement when negotiations were even deadlocked, so to speak?
I will say that the negotiations at the beginning must have had its own challenges, because these are part of the things that should have been put into consideration when negotiations was going on to arrive at that particular amount for the minimum wage. Because the minimum wage is supposed to be the least amount payable to anybody in the country, apart from those that were exempted by the Act. But now, what is playing out is like a general wage increase, which is not what, I don't think that's what the government has in mind. So when this was now brought up, it now became an issue that they now have to start considering, we now have to start considering those people who are not, who are already beyond that, the current minimum wage. And if you look at the issue of what Labour is saying now, 66.6% increase was put on the former minimum wage, and Labour would have wanted the same thing to apply across board. But the ability to pay, because even the 80,000...
So it's based on the ability to, this decision is based on the ability to pay?
Basically, yes, it's on the ability to pay. Because you must also put in mind that this is by the federal workers now. Yes. They're still going to go back to all the states.
Absolutely.
Some states have not been having challenges paying the 18,000 naira. So by the time you now say, okay, let's even try and pay the 30,000, you know, tell them, but you still have to increase it.
We didn't have this kind of challenge at the initial increase of minimum wage. So why are we having this now?
I think over time, especially because with this particular situation now, all those actors in this negotiation should now take a learning from it. So that going forward, this can be put as part of the negotiations, and a mechanism that will be able to just automatically review.
But there were challenges then, where that people talked about, you know, the shortcomings of the arrangement when it comes to the increase in minimum wage. So why didn't we look at that at the time? Because now there is no resolution yet.
Yes.
So moving further might be, don't you think it will be challenging?
Yes, it's going to be challenging. And well, why those challenges in the past were not considered in this new arrangement, I wouldn't be able to say. But I think now it's becoming more obvious, you know, because with social media now and everything, people are getting more enlightened. And so they will look at that in future. If anything like this is going to come up, everything has to be put into consideration. The Act makes provision that it can be reviewed every 5 years. So if this one has been signed 2019, we expect that by 2024, then another one should come up. The Act also provides that 6 months to the expiration, they should start that discussion. So all these things are things that the actors should put in place. So
how would you expect Labour to respond to this issue now?
Well, Labour has its points. And like I said, for me, I feel for those in the private sector, they might not have this much of a challenge because most of them are already getting beyond this, the current minimum wage. But for those in the public sector, it still has to come to dialogue. Because no matter how much you want to go to war or whatever, you still have to come back to a table to sign a document. It has to come to dialogue. The beautiful thing about it is that the government has agreed to backdate. Normally, when agreements are signed, it starts from the day of the agreement. But the government has agreed to backdate, so there should still be room for more dialogue, knowing that they cannot go back to say, let's backdate it to the time once we agree.
Solomon Adeboshin, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Breakfast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.